You know how it feels, right? You walk into a room of strangers, look for a seat in the school cafeteria, wear your Tar Heels jersey to Cameron Stadium. It's just the way you feel when you're on the outside looking in. Something tells you that this is not your family, these are not your friends, and you obviously don't belong. Sometimes it makes you feel awkward, sometimes uncomfortable, sometimes alone. Those feelings don't have a long-term effect when they happen occasionally, because as people, we are resilient. We're optimistic. Sooner or later, we believe we will find our seat at the table. So we keep moving until we land somewhere. That's because we all have a drive to belong. Belonging is the reason people take showers. Synchronized swimming has fans. Men stopped wearing leisure suits in the 70s. Tom Hanks apologized to a soccer ball named Wilson. We're all trying to fit in somewhere. But not belonging can be devastating if the loneliness is consistent, if the isolation is frequent, if the rejection is recurrent. Basically, because people need people. Everybody needs a circle, and every kid needs a tribe. So what exactly is a tribe? Well, there are probably a lot of definitions, but for us, it's simply a group of people connected by something in common. Ancestry, ideas, experiences, politics, theology, sports. Think about it this way. We define ourselves by tribes. We say things like, I am a musician, I'm a Baptist, I'm a feminist, I'm a Braves fan, I'm a photojournalist, I'm a foodie, I'm a conservative, I'm a mom, I'm a student, I'm a biker, I'm a Republican, I'm a reader, I'm a blogger. Tribes are just people who share something in common, like clubs you can sign up to attend. But when you put tribes over time, they become much more significant. They become a family, or they become a community. That's why what you do every week matters so much. Small groups and families both help us understand the power of what happens in a tribe over time. They give us a sense of belonging. That's also why, if you're a leader or parent, you play a significant role in connecting kids to the two tribes that last over time, the church and the family. And just like love, words, and stories were God's idea, so were tribes. Think about it. It's as if God designed us so we would naturally connect in tribes. Then He used tribes over time to reveal Himself to us and to continue to spread His message of love. God used tribes to accomplish His mission, to connect people to His message of love over time. But it's possible to misunderstand the point of tribes. The Pharisees missed the point. They understood the value of keeping the practices and traditions of the tribe of faith, but they somehow missed the point of what tribes were designed to do over time. Tribes give us the best tool to help people feel welcome, accepted, and loved by God. So Jesus confronted the Pharisees about their judgmental way of thinking, and He told a story about a family with two sons. The youngest son left home prematurely. He took his father's inheritance and he went to the far country. It was his big chance. He hoped to build his own fortune, find new friends, and leave his mark in the world. Unfortunately, due to a series of wrong decisions and the fact that he'd never taken any of Dave Ramsey's courses, he lost everything. Basically, he ended up working at a barbecue place in South Georgia, and even worse, he had to live out back with the pigs. I'm sure you've heard the story about how he finally said one day, I want to go home. I mean, I can almost hear Michael Bublé singing. I can imagine the prodigal son walking across the last field toward the big white house where he grew up. At least in my mind, it's a big white house. His loving father runs to meet him, gives him a hug in spite of his odor, in spite of his mistakes. Why? Because according to his dad, my son was lost, and now he's found. Translated, my son lost his way, now he's back where he belongs. He was a smart dad who knew tribes matter, so he did two things. He gave his son a ring to remind him he still belonged to the family, and he threw a party to assure him he still had a community where he belonged. He wanted to send a very clear message. There's still a seat for you at our table. This is a place where you are known. This is a place where you're welcome. This is a place where you're forgiven, and this is a place where you belong. That's something that only tribes can do. And the tribes most strategically positioned to do that are the family and the church. Kids and teenagers desperately need people who know them, who welcome them, who forgive them over time so they will know they belong. Education reformer Jeffrey Canada says that kids need to grow up with a certain level of failure so they can understand it's possible to move beyond their mistakes. But they also need to know they can be forgiven, both by their parents and by other adults as well. Canada says this is what makes those in the church unique. We understand redemption. So that's what a tribe of faith should be the best at doing, reminding kids they are forgiven by God and the people who know them best. We all want to be known by someone. And we need to know, regardless of whatever failure we have in our life, they still believe in us and that we still have a place to belong. The idea of belonging is actually what makes our faith as Christians distinctive. Our sense of belonging is rooted in the concept of grace. Grace means you don't belong because you deserve to belong. You belong because God has accepted and forgiven you. Think about the advantage of growing up realizing that you are known by God in a way you are not known by anyone. Every thought, every desire, every action, and yet He wants to welcome you into His tribe, His family forever. That's belonging. It's important to introduce children and teenagers to the grace of God when they're young. That's why helping them understand how to trust Christ with their life should be our first priority. It may be the greatest thing you ever do for a kid's sense of belonging. At some point, most of us have experienced what happens when someone grows up and never feels like they belong. Debbie and I met a young lady a few years ago who convinced us that she needed a heart transplant. We found out later it was a scam. It wasn't a scam for money, but it was a scam for attention. Alyssa had actually played this game most of her young life to impress someone, to belong somewhere. Her history was actually filled with fictions that she had told in an attempt to earn acceptance. But it took a little over a year before she was caught and her lie was exposed. Then she isolated herself. She cut everyone off, and at 22, she failed at the first attempt to take her life. I remember Debbie and I waiting at Elmhurst Hospital for 2 days before she would even agree to see us. When she did see us, she was angry. Her first words were, "I don't want you here. Why did you come? I really don't want to talk about anything." It took a few days before she actually warmed up. I'm not sure if it was the chocolate we brought or the fact that she was tired of the crowd on the psych ward. But after a few visits, she asked this question: "Why would you come back when you know what I did?" So I said, "Alyssa, the reason we came back is because we know what you did. Sometimes you just need someone in your life who knows you and who knows what you did, but they keep showing up. I need that. I need to be loved by the people who have history with me, or how can I really know I'm loved?" We had enough history with her to know that beneath the facade and pretense, there was a smart, savvy, creative, ambitious, daring, lively, sarcastic girl who was the age of our own daughters. Maybe that's what we saw. She was someone's daughter who had been trapped in her life by a string of bad choices while she tried to figure out where and how to belong. The point is, Alyssa is not that different than you or me. She just needed tribes over time where she could be known and forgiven in spite of what she had done. Just remember, you can't feel forgiven by people who don't really know you. That's why kids need tribes over time. Kids need to know they are known before they can ever feel welcome. Kids need to be known before they can ever feel forgiven. Kids need to be known before they can ever feel like they belong. So when they show up broken and lonely and wounded, make sure they know they have a seat at your table. Be the kind of parent or leader who will give them a ring and throw them a party. Because there are two things that will make your home and church attractive to kids and teenagers: forgiveness and joy. That's why you need to play for keeps. With every week that passes, with every marble you lose, you're making history. Playing for keeps means you get serious about tribes over time. You understand how the right tribe over time contributes to a child's sense of belonging. That's why we say it's important to go in circles. I mean, I know that may sound a little strange, but it's just another way of saying do life in the context of relationships. Kids need to be encouraged early in life to connect in tribes and groups. It means that you recognize the potential of your family circle, your church circle, and the influence the right friends can have in their life. You see, kids need to eat in circles, travel in circles, play in circles, work in circles, learn in circles, and live in circles. Because when they live in circles with people who will help them feel known, welcomed, and forgiven over time, it builds the kind of history they need so they can know how and where they belong. So keep doing what you're doing this week because it matters. You're giving a kid a tribe over time.